Y'all are wrong. You're wrong. See, I say all the time that Jesus loves and he cares for people. And the comment I get back is, well, he wants them to quit sinning. Think about the woman caught in adultery. Because they think that woman caught in her sin in Jesus' last statement, which says, go and sin no more, is the whole point of that story. But it's not. Let me tell you the story for real. Bunch of religious punks, bunch of religious men called Pharisees, who were the elite of the day, the Christian nationalists of the day, the evangelicals, so to speak, decided that they wanted to trap Jesus into having to follow the law himself. The whole story is about whether Jesus would follow the law, not them or her, Jesus. And so they pick whichever one they pick. Maybe they drew straws, maybe they all begged and pleaded because they wanted to be the guy to do it. And they got themselves a hooker and they bought her, put her in bed with the one that was short straw, long straw, whatever. And when they were doing the deed, all the rest of them burst in the room, caught her right there in the sin. They don't say a word about him, mind you, just her. And they drag her through the streets wearing what she would have been wearing at that moment. And they drop her in front of Jesus. And their question is, are you going to follow the law? She's supposed to be stoned. Will you follow the law, Jesus? And Jesus, because she is in this position and because he absolutely loves her, refuses to humiliate her. So he bends down and starts writing. Now, we don't know what he wrote. There are all kinds of ideas. Scholars have focused on what he might have written or might not have written. But here's the deal. It doesn't matter what he was writing, because the goal in the story is not to tell you what he wrote, but that he was writing. Because while he was writing, every single eye was on him and not her. He protected her from shame. He distracted those vile, arrogant, religious people so that she would not be stared at. And they wouldn't leave him alone. They kept asking, you going to follow the law? Are you going to stone her? We caught her in bed with somebody. She's an adulterous woman. And Jesus finally gets fed up with them. He stops writing and he looks up at them, being God in the flesh, knowing he was the only person there who had a right to say anything about anybody's sin, looks at them and says, listen, whoever hasn't committed the sin, you throw the first stone. Because the law said then, you could not be on a jury or a judgment panel if you yourself had committed the same sin that was on trial. So every one of those men went, oh crap. And the old men who had done it often, they went, I gotta go. And they dropped their stones and walked off. And the middle-aged men who didn't want to admit it, but had to because Jesus had just called their sin out, they dropped their stones and left. And then the younger men went, well, I did that one time. And they all left. This story is about their sin, not hers. Don't forget that. And then the woman who is still laying there in this precarious position on the ground beneath them with no partner. They didn't bring the man. They didn't bring the man who was doing that with her. They didn't bring him for judgment, just her, because they thought her less than them. And Jesus, who thought her more than them by the way he treated her with dignity, looks at her in the face, not the body, and says, where are your accusers? Who's saying you're sinning? Who is attacking what you have done? And she says, there aren't any. And he said, I'm not going to condemn you either. I'm not going to call you out on your sin. I'm not going to look at you and say, you better stop doing that. And then he says, now go, don't do that again. Honey, don't do that again. That leads to this. And I don't want to see you hurt. The point was not to make sure that wicked, vile woman wasn't sinning. The point was to point out that those sleazy scumbag men who were judging her were the real problem to Jesus, not her. So stop sending me all your comments about how Jesus said that to her, and start sending me all your comments about how the people judging her got slapped in the face by the Son of God with their own sin. Not her. Not her. And then go look in the mirror and go, Jesus would be saying to you, you who have no sin, and shut your mouth. Because Jesus loved her, protected her, gave her dignity, told her he would not condemn her for sinning, and then said, don't do it again because you're going to end up hurt. And I don't want you to be hurt. The implication is, even if she did get hurt and was drugged before him, he would protect her. He would keep her safe. He would keep her from being hurt by those sleazy pigs who brought her there. And then he would forgive her. So stay away from it. Okay?